I know. I'm going to speak to the elephant in the room. That might sound a little bit too good to be true. But what if you could actually learn from one of the legends, one of the masters who's been responsible for helping create over $50 billion for him and his lucky clients in over 1,000 different business categories, multiple thousands of sub-business categories in multiple countries around the world, and has been called on by experts like Tony Robbins, Damon John, Stephen Covey, the founder of FedEx, Planet Fitness, Bulletproof Coffee, Icy Hot, Entrepreneur Magazine, Keller Williams, and more. Can you take a guess who I'm talking about? If you don't know, no big deal. But if you do know, well, I'm talking about legend and marketing genius, Jay Abraham. Jay's our guest today. Jay, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am almost impeccable, and thank you very much for the very, very generous introduction. It's a pleasure being with you. I've shared a lot of experiences with you for many years, and I've admired your integrity and your enthusiasm. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight or today, however it's broadcast.
Yeah, and I want to dive into it. We're going to focus on you today, Jay. And you've got a new concept that you've been working on, and everything is a collection of overnight success that took 30 years of 40 years, tens of thousands of hours, building wealth without risk. So can you give us some context? Why building wealth without risk? Why now?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's a convergence of a lot of things that have been on my mind for a long time. And it's also a rethink for me, a reset for me of what I believe in. And it's really rocked my boat. And I thought if it rocked my boat, and very frankly, very little rocks my boat anymore, it ought to just be tectonic in the impact it might have to the people we share it with. So I can give you a real quick background. So think of a peanut butter cup. You know how there's chocolate and peanut butter?
Oh, yes, I do. Believe me.
All right. I love peanut butter cups also. So I have dedicated my career, as you said, for over 4 decades to mastering, if not every, a multitude of higher performance methods, strategies, concepts that are designed to produce exponential profit growth without any increased investment or risk. Same effort, same time, same resources, same ad access, same leads, same salespeople, same access to the market, same whatever, but many times more sales, clients, buyers, revenue, repeat sales, profit, wealth. But that was always based on just creating more profit. A colleague of mine who Roland Frazier, has dedicated his life to understanding that true wealth, not just significant increased income and not just prosperity, but true wealth, the kind of security that sets you up for life, comes from taking an asset, increasing dramatically its value and its desirability, so countless others will, figuratively speaking, stand in line for the privilege of buying it from you for an incredibly loftier, higher, more stratospheric price than you ever either paid for it or invested in it. So Roland has this belief: why start a business from scratch, which is what 90% of all the people that want to be entrepreneurs and want to shuck their existing jobs and be a business owner do. They start a business from scratch. And he says, why do that when, Dan, it has a 1 in 20 first year success rate and a 1 in 10 5-year, 25% first year, 10% 5-year success rate. Stated differently, 95% failure rate, 90% failure rate. Why do that when instead you can get control, ownership, either or, of a successful company that has broken through that barrier but is profoundly underperforming the potential it could achieve in sales revenue, significance, desirability. Roland says, why do that when Roland has pioneered, engineered, and perfected over 200 separate ways, methods for funding it with little or none of your own out-of-pocket income, and only a few of, I mean, capital, cash, only a few of them, Dan, are owner carry. Everyone thinks, well, you got to persuade the owner to carry. You can, but it's only a few. He's got so many powerful ways to incentivize all kinds of other people, entities, organizations, all kinds of people to want to fund it for you. And then he's got monumentally powerful ways to exit, to sell it for what he calls an epic exit and a mammoth payday. So he's got those two things. I have the middle piece. Now, can I tell a quick divergent? I think it's a fun story, but I'll tie it to why this has all come together. May I, please?
Of course, absolutely.
I am a great fan of South Park. I haven't watched it for a couple of years. My kids watched it all the time until they grew up and left home. I laughed all the time. My favorite South Park episode is called The Underpants Gnomes. You know what that means? Did you ever see? So here's a story. I can't remember the name, but one of the South Park kids' dad owns a Starbucks-like coffee shop, and this kid is drinking double espressos 20 times a day, and his eyes are popping out, and he's freaking out, and he's amped up, and he tells the South Park kids that every night these gnomes come into his room and steal his underpants, and he tells them over and over, they think he's crazy, so they're going to prove he's wrong, so they all hide in the closet when this kid goes to sleep, and sure as you know what, at 2 a.m, in shuffles this whole band of gnomes. They get on each other's shoulders till they get to the top drawer of the dresser, and they start throwing underpants out. The South Park kids jump out of the closet and go, "What the heck are you doing?" The head gnome says, "This is part of our master plan." And he goes, "Well, what's the plan?" He goes, "Step 1, steal underpants. Step 3, profit." And the joke is there was no step 2. So now Roland had ways to grow businesses, but I tend to be renowned for that being my singular big skill set, particularly on the profit or EBITDA side. And when we understood each other's respective complementary peanut cup like connection, we decided what would happen if we created a book that taught people, first of all, why not to start a business, why to acquire one instead, how to acquire it safely with very little or none of their own capital. And then I have, Dan, created, engineered, pioneered, codified over my career over 97 categories, not just techniques, but separate categories. Some have 20 techniques in them for monumentally blowing up bottom line profit, EBITDA, without any investment, any extra investment or risk. And then Roland has all these ways to exit for a huge, huge, huge windfall mammoth payday. Now, that's one part. The part that I love more, because I've spent most of all my career not really focused on people that wanted to start a business, but rather people who were in business. Here's the part 2. Why be content to grow or operate your business merely with competent or quality advertising or marketing or selling or good organic referrals, when in fact you can use acquisition, the same dynamic but far more lucrative for you, to acquire a competitor, a company with a product or service, or just a product or service people buy before, during, after, instead. Why instead? Because I don't care how good you are, you're not closing 100% of your leads. You're not basically getting every distributor selling all the time. If you have people that could sell alternatives that compete against you when you've done everything within your power, including all the multiplied performance methodologies that I could teach you, then you turn around because they're going to buy from somebody else, either the same product or an alternative. For example, if you sold a supplement for weight loss, most people take it for a while. They don't change their regimen. They don't lose weight. So they stop doing that and they do something else. They might buy a different person's supplement, but they might buy portion control food like a Jenny Craig. They might buy equipment, that kind of equipment, running, anything. They might go to either private trainers or virtual group trainers. They might buy books on recipes. You can compete against yourself because you have the same sunk cost in acquiring that person. Number two opportunity is you acquire what's called an access vehicle. What's that mean? It could be a podcast like this that reaches a market that I want to have a preemptive access, meaning access ahead of everybody else and credibility with. It can be a discussion group. It can be a sales force. It can be a URL. It can be anything. It can be products people buy early in the game so you have a preemptive access. It can be anything strategically, anything that multiplies dramatically the profit, lets you add that product to what you currently sell to double or triple the profit per sale. It can be something that's less expensive that makes it easier to start a sale. It could be something more expensive and advanced at the end that will double or redouble your lifetime value and give you all kinds of additional, not just income, but allowable costs to acquire a lot more buyers. I can go on and on and on. But when we realized this, we thought, this is so cool. And it's such a faster, safer, easier, far more enjoyable, more satisfying, monumentally more enriching way to create whatever relative wealth is to you. And I mean that because maybe somebody wants $1 million in their life. Maybe somebody wants 10 or 20 or 50. This philosophy, methodology, and integrated approach gives you the ability within reason to achieve almost anything you want. And you don't have to worry about having any constraints or impairment because we give you all the answers in both ways: how to find it, how to acquire it, how to monumentally blow it up, how to use it to acquire more things, how to create your little mini empire if that's what you want, how to basically exit for a huge payday, how to rinse and repeat, and every time you do it over and over again, every 3 to 5 years, you do it higher and more lucrative. It's later in the afternoon for me, and I've had a lot of coffee. Is that okay?
Well, I'll tell you, I feel like you've just given a master class in that 10 minutes right there. I mean, it's amazing. And jumps up for me, Jay, is the fact, I've been fortunate enough to learn from you for about 30 years. And the thing that pops up is geometric growth, geometric profitability, and all the different concentric circles. And like what I just visualized as you explained it is a pathway to more easily create the concentric circle expansion, exponential multipliers, getting everything out of what you've got. I'll be dating all the way back to these programs I got, some 20 years ago, 30 years ago or whatever. And now combined with this, call it the new philosophy that you and Roland have teamed up together to create. Now, I'm curious, build, grow, acquire, exponentially grow. If we go back to, some of the basics, Jay, and, as you've seen companies come, you go, you've been at this 4 decades, how is it that you see things are the same today and different than say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, et cetera, as it relates to this new methodology?
Well, great question, Dan. Well, I think that for many years, people would teach you how to acquire real estate and flip it, but that's very speculative. And if you're wrong and the market goes against you, you could end up with a real mess on your hands. Or but ours, here's what's really cool about our philosophy. First of all, anybody can do it. And if you go, well, I don't know how to manage, you can find somebody to manage. And oftentimes one of the ways you can make money, you can be paid to do this. There are a lot of times a small, medium business has people that have been with it for a long time, and they would love to be an owner in the business and they've never had the chance. You can get them to pay you to be a partial owner of the whole thing and walk away with cash in your pocket. But the thing is, a lot of real estate has a lot more complexity, and the yield you're going to get is, what are you going to get? 20%, 30% of $50,000, profit. When you're talking about this, you're talking about orders of magnitude bigger on the upside. And if you never exit it, you're going to take something that's producing X. You're going to figure out an incredible way to make it produce many times X. So the income it'll throw off can be many times more than what you'll ever need to pay off the acquisition price, the purchase. But what you can use it for, you can use it to buy other businesses. You can use it to reduce all the debt in your life. One of the other things that I think is really cool about this, there can be a business that looks very undesirable because by itself static it is, but if you acquire it and use it as a strategic, like a Trojan horse vehicle to start relationships with people you want, that changes everything. So something that's so it's like the idea of one person's trash is another's treasure. There's just all kinds of things. Also, you start with a business that you acquire that's worth X because it's at a certain revenue, size, and profitability. But you use, and you talk about it, almost every one of my methodologies is based on generating at least exponential and actually beyond exponential profit increases for zero additional investment or risk. Zero investment or risk. You just shift the way you do what you do, how you harness and harvest underperforming revenue activities, under-recognized profit opportunities, underutilized assets, relationships. I can go on and on and on. But what's so cool is, so now you bought it when it was only worth a certain amount. And the key phrase in this is the multiple. Everything sells for a multiple. A multiple is an amount above, sometimes it's less than, either revenue or EBITDA, profit. It's just an abbreviation for the profit after taxes, interest, and things like that. But if you dramatically grow it through acquisition, through strategic acquisition, through using any or many of my 97 profit enhancing methodologies, all of a sudden, both the revenue increases, but typically with my methodologies, the profit multiplies many times faster, greater, and by orders of greater magnitude. So now you've taken it from being worth, let's say, 3x, and you've taken it to a size and a profitability that now it's worth 8x. So you've got a double play. The 3x you paid for it when it was making, let's say, $200,000 is now 6x for $2 million. And that kind of achievement is very realistic. I mean, you named a bunch of businesses that I've used this methodology for, not through the acquisition, because that wasn't my skill set. We took Entrepreneur Magazine 900% greater in less than a year using two of these techniques. We used Icy Hot, grew at 21,000% in 15 months using one of these techniques. We took a gold brokerage firm and we grew it from 300,000 to $500 million in aggregate revenue in 2 years using one of these techniques. We took, I've got a company I just spent time with. They went from X to 30X in 5 years in the, believe it or not, the duck business. They're the largest seller of ducks to Asian restaurants and Michelin restaurants. They used 5 of these. They used the strategy preeminence. They used Power Parthenon. They used the 3-way to grow a business model. These are all my methodologies. They don't want to sell it. They're making so much money hand over fist. They used testing and optimization. And these are very simplistic once you get them. They apply to any business, any size. But the point is, all these things blow up profitability. And normally, all things being equal, profitability is one of the biggest denominators. So you can take something, you can't take real estate and pay X and in 3 years make it worth 5, 10 times that. You can make
Right.
it, yeah, but you can do that with a business and you can be paid lavishly. A lot of times with real estate, maybe you get positive cash flow, but you're not going to get massive positive cash flow, and you could get negative cash flow. This is all the desirable aspects, none of the detriments, and it doesn't matter what skill set you possess. If you can't manage and you can't get the existing team to do it, there's tons of people out there that you can hire because you can increase the profitability, the cash flow to be able to pay it. If you don't think you can make the deal, there's plenty of people that'll do the deal for you. If you don't do any of it, I mean, there's also what I would call the Tom Sawyer strategy. Do you remember in Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, it talked about Tom Sawyer whitewashing the fence. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Everybody, I mean, basically, the grandmother makes him want to paint this fence, and he convinces all the kids that if they
Friends,
do
yeah.
it, it'd be so much fun. You can get someone to run it, someone to find it, someone to negotiate it, but you can get 90% of the profit. I've got methodologies galore. It just, I mean, to me, I wish I used this years ago. I have always, and it's not a secret, I've been one of the probably the most significantly priced and the significantly earning experts in the sector. I've helped 300 well-known A-list, everyone, Tony Robbins, Damon John, the late Stephen Covey, Dave Asprey, Brian Tracy. I can go on and on and on and on. But I help people make fortunes, and I just took ordinary income because I was probably too ego driven and loved being the hero instead of being the wealthiest guy in the room. And I made a lot of people wealthy, and they paid me my asking price, but it was ordinary income. These people didn't make that much more than me, but now they are worth that much more than me. And I don't want to let that happen for other people. I don't want it to happen anymore for myself, my family, my estate. And the reason we did the book, before you ask, is we know the vast majority won't benefit us, but it'll help people who would go and try to do it themselves and lose everything, their hopes, their dreams about entrepreneurship. Maybe they'll take a mortgage out, they'll strain their marriage, they might lose even what they think is a bad job and not be able to get back because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But we know that there will be some people who own businesses that will be attracted to Roland and Ion will give us the chance to get involved, to grow it and help them exit and get a piece of it. There will be people that we help find a much safer, much more prosperous path for the rest of their life, who know people that might be good deal flow for us. And there will be business owners who are able to prosper at levels they never have contemplated. We did the book to find a small number of deal flow collaborators, but the majority of the book is going to benefit others. And it's not, by the way, it's not a light book in terms of its content. It's not esoteric. We've reduced it down to simplistic examples, explanation, case studies, all kinds of demonstrations. So the power of everything is so clear. It's 447, no nonsense, non-theoretical, fast-paced, exciting, easy to understand, consume, and grasp pages. And to prove the significance of it, Tony Robbins wrote a 5-page forward, not a 5-paragraph forward, and not just a little blurb on the outside, 5 very amazing pages. Damon John wrote a 3-page introduction that's very touching, and it advocates for the entrepreneur.
And speaking of which, Jay, I want to dive in here, because if you're watching right now, if you're listening, if you're looking for a way to build business wealth without risk, to be able to go out there and create income and wealth of a lifetime every 3 to 5 years, and apply Jay's geometric strategies, roll-in strategies, and take all of these principles and apply them to build, grow, and create wealth for you and your family, then get the book right now. You'll find the link somewhere here on the page, or go to breakthrough3x.com/JAY. That's breakthrough3x.com/JAY, where you can get access to the book, all the bonuses, all the resources available, the case studies, the examples. It's like a recipe book to be able to help you build business wealth without risk. Yeah, in fact, Jay, I've got a couple excerpts we pulled from the book.
Okay.
Here's what Tony Robbins had to say. I didn't want to read the full 5 pages, but I grabbed one little piece. This book provides strategies I wish I had known at the beginning of my career. Jay and Roland show that the risky, slow, costly road to success can be surpassed. That's from Tony Robbins. Damon John, life is a series of mentors, and Jay and Roland are absolutely 2 of the best you'll ever find. Their methods work. They really work. That's why I highly recommend this book and their methods. Damon John. Barbara Corcoran, Roland Frazier, and Jay Abraham's built business wealth without risk is jam-packed with unique insights and practical strategies any entrepreneur can benefit from. If you're looking to achieve financial success, Roland, Jay, and Jay's valuable tips will help you get there. Barbara Corcoran. So if you're watching, if you're listening, you're looking for a way to build wealth, business wealth, without risk for you and your family, and to be able to create the income and wealth of a lifetime every 3 to 5 years, go get the book. Just click the link. You can get access to the resources, all the tools. It's like a recipe manual to be able to go build success. Whether you build it, whether you grow it, whether you partner, whether you apply this idea of concentric circles, whether you apply what Jay had talked about earlier about the peanut butter cup strategy, or the underpants gnome strategy on the shoulders of giants. Rule number 1, rule number 3, or the Tom Sawyer approach where you get others to do it. All of those principles and another several hundreds of others that you can put in place right now. Go get the book, click the link, go to breakthrough3x.com/JAY. That's breakthrough3x.com/JAY, or hit the link somewhere. I don't know where it is on the page. It's somewhere here. Click here on the page and go get it. Now, Jay, I mean, there's so much I want to go through, and I know out of respect for the time I promised you. Here's a quick question. Again, you've been doing, your body of work is just unparalleled, and so I love to just get your insights on this as it relates to the principles here, right? Building business wealth without risk.
Yes.
What do you see are some of the biggest mistakes people make? I think I probably know where you're going to lean, but I'd love to get your take on it. Biggest mistakes most people make.
Well, we'll start with whether you own a business or you want to own a business. I don't think people realize how much more is possible from time, effort, opportunity, access to the market, all kinds of resources. And that's the first thing. I've been very blessed. You know that I have worked in over 1,000 industries, not businesses. And I've seen so many higher, better, safer, faster, far higher yielding current and ongoing ways to do everything in the revenue system. We actually created a concept called revenue system optimization that is based on that. I first came to, I guess, significance when I created the 3 ways to grow a business model. It's still quite profound here. Most people spend all their time fixated on bringing a buyer in, when in fact it costs you the same to bring them in if they buy once or if they buy many times. It costs you the same if they buy $1 or if they buy $20 each time. It costs you the same when you've sold everything you have to sell. If you stop, or if you sell them a lot more, you get more utility out of them. I created the 3 advanced ways. You penetrate a new market every year, a new niche. You add a new product or service every year so that you have either more easy ways to start a relationship, more profitable ways to package each sale and make it far more profitable, or you have far greater ways to extend the lifetime value and thus the profitability of every asset you get. A prospect is an asset, a buyer is an asset, a salesperson's an asset. Then I created the Power Parthenon of geometric growth. Oh, the last 3 of the 3 ways: acquiring businesses, products, services, sales forces. I mean, this is going to sound a little wild, we've looked at certain kinds of businesses out there where an owner, Dan, starts out, he or she is the salesman or woman, and they do okay. And then as they grow, they relegate themselves to in their ivory tower. They don't really stay connected. They don't even have any knowledge or real relationship with most of their clientele, whether it's customers, I call them clients, patients. And we've actually found that rather than even buying the business, you can buy the sales force for a fraction of that and command 80% of the whole business because the salespeople have the relationship, or the customer service people, or the technical support people, or the delivery people. Uh, uh, then I created the Power Parthenon of geometric business growth. This is a huge mistake. Most people literally build all their business through one single source. And if anything goes wrong, that source can be compromised. But if you add many other revenue sources, all of which can be profit centers, you multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply geometrically what it does. And I'll give you a simple concept. If you have a business, which many people do, where a large portion of your clientele comes from referral or word of mouth, and I ask you, and I've done this in seminar after seminar after seminar I used to do, stand up if your business gets 20 to 100% of its revenue from either referral or word of mouth. Half the room will stand up. Then I'll without pointing, I will charmingly canvass maybe 20 people and say, tell me the percentage in the dollars annually, including repeat. And it's pretty profound. 20% $1 million, 50% 500,000, 80% 10 million. A little one might say 85% 400,000. Then I'll say to all the people standing, remain standing if you have in place at least one formalized, systematized, referral generating strategy that you apply all the time to optimize all the relationships, all the stored value of contacts, every one of your current clients, and all your relationship network has. 95% sit down because they don't have one. Then I'll say if you have two, remain standing. 95% of the 5% sit down. If I say three, they all sit down. And just to give you an example, and we introduce some of them in this book, because I've worked with 1,000 industry, I've identified over 125 no cost, no investment, high probability ways to generate high value, rapidly converting, very lucrative referrals. And most people don't have one. And nobody's going to do 125 different ways. They're not going to be 25. But if they have not one, and a huge portion or all their business comes from referrals alone, and just add one more pillar, we call it, and you can go on and on. But we have the Power Parthenon. Then I have the 9 drivers of exponential profit performance. These are small shifts that you can make in everything from your marketing, your strategy approach, your distribution channel, your process system, your revenue process system procedures, even your ideology, your belief system. If you believe the only way you can grow is by doing what everybody else does a little bit better or the same, you're very limited. Then we created, which is one of my favorite ones, the 9 sticking point solutions. There are 9 predominant ways on the revenue side. People get stuck and it's a glass ceiling. They don't know how to break out of it. And yet it's very simple and it doesn't really cost any more time, effort, investment, or risk. You have to shift how you look at something, whether it's losing out to the competition, poor marketing, margins are being eroded. I can go on and on and on, but all those can be really rapidly solved. Then we created the rules for relevancy because we realized that almost everything you do in business and in life flows from a font of how relevant you are seen. The more relevant, the more people take you seriously. They respond to you. They commit to you. They reply to your emails. They show up for your webinars. They show up for their sales appointments. And most people don't know how to command relevancy. Then, we've got all these things. I've got rules for gaining absolute advantage. Why is that important? Because everything in business, when you think about it, is predicated about how to gain absolute ethical advantage in everything you do over everyone else you do it against. It's almost like a T, like the scales of justice. And everything you want to do, you want to keep bringing in your favor. Why do you want absolute ethical advantage? Because if you don't have advantage, what do you have? Disadvantage. I always say, Dan, that the two things people don't think about enough, you want to always make irresistible offers and unbeatable propositions. Why? Because if you don't, you're making resistible offers and beatable propositions. But all these layer, each one separately has the power to increase revenue, but multiply profit performance even greater. And it compounds and compounds and compounds. And as I said before, you mentioned the book and how to get it, you start by acquiring a business that's here. You blow it up ethically to here in both profitability percentage, but also in size. And when you get it up here, it automatically moves it to a much higher multiple level. In this little size with small profit, it might only be worth 2 or 3 times, or maybe only half a time. But when you get it up here, it might be worth 10 times. And because you multiplied and blew up profit, you've got a double lever working for you, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And as you're watching or listening, what would it be worth for you to apply just some of what Jay's been talking about? Relevancy, advantage, the Parthenon principle, the referral strategies, the factor of revenue system optimizers, and a whole lot more. Well, that's just a glimpse of some of what you're going to get when you get Jay's book. And when you apply the principles Jay's talking about to build business wealth without risk, to be able to create income and wealth of a lifetime in every 3 to 5 years, sometimes less. So I encourage you, go get the book right now. Apply what Jay is sharing with you. Now, Jay, as a promise for time-wise, I mean, I've got several other questions, but I want to respect your time as well and keep a promise. What's something I should have asked you that I didn't get a chance yet?
What is one of the famous quotes that has impacted my life and that I should share with people that might haunt them forevermore?
What's a quote that you would like to share that if you didn't share might haunt them forevermore?
Well, it'll haunt them either way, but when they get this, it will tonight or tomorrow, whenever they see this, or next week, it'll profoundly shift their worldview. It's a quote from a guy who died, Bob Proctor, and I did something to help him years ago. I've helped so many people all over the place, all kinds of people in the expert world. But he said something to me that really touched me. He said, most people are non-verbally tormented. They're not saying it, but it's tormenting them all the time because they're obsessed with the question, am I worthy of this goal? Can I really work the rest of my life in my job or my career and end up with enough income to live a quality life when I retire? Or will my job even stay? Or can I keep my little business with no great marketing, no great profit building, no great knowledge of how to gain advantage, sustainable for all these years? And he said, when you learn how much more is possible from time, effort, opportunity, access to a market, the right question to ever ask is never, am I worthy of this goal? It's the opposite. Is this goal worthy of me? And if you ask that question and say, is the path you're on now worthy of the rest of your life being an investment? You're an investor, whether you like it or not. You're investing your time, your opportunity cost, your energy, your expectation that you'll be alive the next 5, 10, 30 years, depending on your age. Are you happy with the yield, with the return on that investment your current trajectory represents? If the answer is yes, then great. If the answer is no, think about what I just said. And I think if you get this book, it'll shift your worldview. It'll give you a new slant on how to utilize and invest the rest of your life far, far more richly. And richness is not just money, although money is nice. It's satisfaction, it's fulfillment, it's being in control. it's having unlimited capacity to create not just prosperity, but security at a level that I don't think anything else does. And I wish I knew this 40 years ago when I started. I would have just done this. I would have used my marketing after I got control of a business, blown it up. I mean, Roland used this. One more point. Roland has an interest in over 150 businesses that he used these same principles to acquire. They do a combined $6 billion of revenue annually. Now, to be fair and honest and full disclosure, one of those businesses is a real estate roll up, and you'll learn how to do roll ups, which is cooler than heck because when you put many of the same business together, it makes that aggregation many times more value than just a single business. So it raises again by sometimes 2 or 3 times the value or the multiple. But Roland basically has already had 3 or 4 exits just since he started doing it. One was, I think, 40 million, but he changed a whole trajectory of his life and the wealth potential he will achieve by living, really doing what he says. When the rubber meets the road, a lot of people who are experts they don't live what they teach. They don't really follow their own advice. He does. I wish I had, but I'm doing it now. And I think everybody, it doesn't matter if you want to buy a little retail or wholesale or service in your neighborhood, in your city, and you want to, and then you systematically will see how much more growth you can get, how much acquisition, and you will probably, when you get into this, liberate the sense of true entrepreneurial passion that you maybe have inside you. You might own a business right now, Dan, but you've gotten sort of, let's say, jaded because it's, the world's hard, interests are high, the economy can be challenging, you got all kinds of things going on, but I wish I had the quote. Warren Buffett had the greatest quote in the world, that adversity and recession or down market, adverse situations are the breeding ground of more opportunity than you can ever imagine. This book is I don't think there's anything out there remotely like it. And I don't think there's anything out there that not just shows you how to do it, proves to you that doing it is the ultimate greater choice to invest the rest of your life, and then gives you so much certainty that you're very comfortable actually doing it, not just having it be entertainment or something you'll do sometime in the future. So again, as I said, you're the investor. What kind of return are you destined to get over the rest of your life if you don't change the path you're taking, the trajectory of that path, where you're committing? And it's a very interesting thought to contemplate.
And if you want a simple, easy way to shift that trajectory, to get new insights, new wisdom, new strategies, so you can go build business wealth without risk and create the income and the wealth of a lifetime every 3 to 5 years, go get the book, hit the link on the page. Jay, as we wrap this up, what are a couple action steps you hope our viewers, our listeners take from our time today?
Well, the one thing I really think they should do is take a sobering look at where they're at right now in their life, career, or business versus where you want to be. You remember the old ships they had, I can't, what do they call those things they used to navigate? They needed 3 reference points. Do you remember that? In the old
I do. I don't remember the name.
I think it's called a sextant, but I'm not sure if that's what it's called. Well, I always say you got to decide where you're at. You got to think about where you're going to probably go to. And if nothing changes, what lifestyle, what'll happen. There is one scary reality. There's some very wonderful attributes by AI, ChatGPT 3, 4, and all the permutations that have come out. But most likely, for all the benefit it's going to give to a certain number of people, it's going to not just compromise, but it'll totally eviscerate, it'll destroy, it'll eliminate maybe half of the jobs. And now you have a choice. Do you want to be retrained in a skill set? There's nothing wrong with that, but depends on the age. That's a lot harder to do as you get older. And I'm not talking about just when you're 60, although that could be true. But when you're outside of college for a while, getting retrained is really hard and it's a lot of stress. But if you can acquire an enterprise that generates cash, and then you can immediately use that vehicle to multiply the cash it generates, and then you have the luxury of deciding you want to acquire more and combine them. You want to just sell it and do it again and again. We call it rinse and repeat. You want to have it pay so you can comfortably get retrained. You want to hire somebody you got all kinds of flexibility. You know that flexibility if you are working for somebody. I did an interview with Jeffrey Gitomer yesterday. You know Jeffrey?
Oh yeah.
And we made a point for a salesperson. You can be a great salesman or woman. And I said, what do you have at the end of your career? Maybe you got a 401k. Maybe you were astute enough to live below your means and invest some of that passive income some of that active income in passive assets. But you really don't have a lot. You could have been a great salesperson or a mediocre one, but when it's done, it's done. And there are many, many industries now where they're eliminating the marginal ones, and they're actually sometimes eliminating the great ones because they're paid too much. This is a very topsy-turvy reality we're in, and you're either in control of your destiny or you're being controlled, and there's nothing in between. I don't like the latter. So I hope that a lot of the people that have watched this don't like the latter. And when they realize they have free choice, why choose a limited yield, an uncertain, and a reactive sort of a controlled future when you can have the opposite?
And if you're looking for a way to have more control, to have free choice, to realize that you're an investor, you have an opportunity right here and now that you can shift the trajectory of your yield with something as small as an investment in a book like this of how to build business wealth without risk, how to create the income and wealth of a lifetime in as little as 3 to 5 years, over and over, rinse and repeat. Plus, apply the principles that Jay has been talking about, principles like the peanut butter cup strategy, the underpants gnome strategies, the Tom Sawyer strategy of getting a bunch of other people to do it for you. Even you can acquire companies for little or no money down, or a little bit of both. The revenue system optimizer, the 9 pillars of growth, 9 sticking point solution, absolute advantage, 3 ways to grow any business, rules for relevancy, and a whole lot more. It's real simple. You can just go get the book and start using and applying the principles that Jay's been sharing with you. Jay, it's been a pleasure to have you with us. I have one other question. This is a personal, because I've gotten a chance to know you personally. You and I've had some late night calls about family.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, sir. Ask away.
So, Michelle and your wife, right? If you were to turn to both of them today and thank them for how they've shown up for you to give you the ability to be you at your best, what would you thank your wife for, and what would you thank Michelle for?
Yeah, that's a really interesting. And Michelle is my daughter.
Yes.
And she is responsible for operation. She's got the technological logic and mastery, and she's really a wonderful human being. My wife is a remarkable person. She has instilled, she's tolerated my ADD, mad scientist, crazily impulsive, impetuous conduct all my life. And she accepts me, and she gives me an environment that lets me be doggedly and unimaginably immersed in business at all hours of the night and day, weekends and holidays, and have people over till the late night and do all kinds of crazy things. And she lets me get impulsive and buy, massive artwork with that we don't really have any place to put, or cars I don't have any place to drive. And she tolerates a lot of things. She's a very intellectually sophisticated woman, but she was a great influence on not just my 4 children. I have been married 3 times, not saying it with pride, but she was a wonderful influence, not only on the 4 biological children I have with her, and she taught them values, character, ethos, quality of purpose. They're great human beings. They're great citizens. They're great contributors societally, which everyone can't say about their children. But she was also a great influence on my children from other marriages, otherwise. And I really appreciate that. And she has a joie de vivre that is contagious. She is unbridled enthusiasm. She's charismatic. She's the ultimate optimist. She's got an obsession for learning about her worldview on geopolitics is fascinating, and I get a kick out of her. My daughter has been behind the scenes, done a lot of things to compensate for my being oblivious and just assuming things get done. And she's very loyal, dedicated, passionate, and she's very bright. She doesn't really always get the opportunity to be acknowledged for, her intelligence and her acumen and all that she does. And I can go on and on. I appreciate human beings, and I definitely appreciate, I can't talk, the loved ones in my family, but that's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking.
And thank you for just giving us a glimpse in your personal life, Jay. I'm fortunate for the time that we've gotten a chance to spend and the advice and wisdom you've shared, not only in the personal realm, but also, going back almost 30 years when I was introduced to some of your strategies and been able to apply it, and then now getting a chance to do things like this together. So it's a pleasure. And as you're watching or listening, I've got 7 pages of notes here. And all the notes are here somewhere on the page that you can get access to. But the real simple step I want to challenge and encourage you to take right here, right now. Go get the book. Go get Build Business Wealth Without Risk, How to Create an Income and Wealth of a Lifetime in 3 to 5 years. You can get that right now. Somewhere there's a link on the page. Go get it. Apply J strategies. And if you're in a place where you're already growing businesses and you're looking to go to that next level, and you've gotten to apply some of the strategies from Jay, make sure to reach out to his team, because there may be other collaborative opportunities as well, where maybe you can help promote the book or promote some of the other works that Jay is doing as well. So Jay, thank you for taking the time. It's as always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks. Seize the day. Make it a great week. We'll see you next time on another session.
Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day, or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.
Hey, it's Dan Kuschell. Click the buttons over here on the left. You can watch these other couple videos, as well as make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can get access to the latest insights, strategies, and wisdom, giving you more clarity, confidence, and direction for exponential business growth. Hit the button now.